Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
After I woke up in the bottom of the pool and started trying to understand what happened to me, you understand that I've got the memory of 10 people that are no longer there. They came from people that I don't know. So the last 2+3 years of my life have been putting those memories together from those 10 alters that lived inside of my brain. And so today, what I tell people is I got a download. I have a bank of knowledge and information that was put in my head that is not mine.
In this episode, we take a wild ride of a near-death experience, or NDE, shadow work, and holistic healing. Thayne Martin shares how a near-death experience in a pool led to a radical different change and a new philosophy based on the equation of life and abundant happiness. Thayne turned trauma of a horrific childhood abuse and living with DID into transformation with the power of love. His program, called It's Pure Love, is a pay what you can, and his passion is priceless.
I did 275 live podcasts from a park near my house. Yeah, it was crazy. I did it on Instagram because that was the only way I could go live. So not good for distribution, but it was a social media experiment. I wanted to see what would happen if I woke up every morning and celebrated the sunrise. And the second thing I wanted to know was what would happen if I put gratitude into my life and I learned to live it. That was the social media experiment. So today is actually day 552 of my consecutive sunrises. I've never missed a sunrise. I'm up every morning.
Wow.
I watch every sunrise and I give thanks and grace that I woke up because some people didn't. And that's the truth.
So you started this practice after your near-death experience?
Yes. Yeah. My near-death experience led me down a path of discovery. And my social media experiment completely changed my life and created my business.
Wow. So I wanted to talk to you because I've heard lots of people have near-death experiences, and it's like it is life-changing. Like they were struggling, or there was anxiety, there was all these things in life. After their near-death experience, it was like their whole outlook of life and their whole attitude changed for different reasons. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm curious about what happened to you, what you saw after it happened, and then how it's changed your outlook.
So let me give you a little bit of my backstory. So your audience knows a little bit more about me and what I'm about. So I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I was raised in a very conservative religion. I was raised Mormon. And I had a really awesome family, amazing mother and father, brother and sister. And sadly, though, we lived on a street where a pedophile moved into my street. And we didn't know it. I didn't know it. I thought I was safe. Well, he ended up ruining my life, and ruining the lives of many children, not just me. And so the abuse happened inside of the church, in the building itself. And sadly, 4 of my childhood friends are dead. 3 committed suicide and 1 died of AIDS. So my early childhood was full of trauma and ugliness and lies
So
and
sorry for that.
deceit. That's what I knew. It lasted for 6 years. Okay. Then I tried to do what everybody else did. I said nothing. Nobody knew what happened to me. Nobody. But I developed some really peculiar disorders from that abuse, right? One of them was something called dissociative identity disorder. Okay. So I had DID. I had 10 personalities and I operated as a multiple most of my life. And interestingly, wasn't diagnosed with that until late in life. So I lived with that condition and it wasn't ever diagnosed formally, but I understood that I was different and I showed up differently in life, but I was also incredibly successful. That's the beautiful thing, is that I managed, If you ask my family, was there a lot of ugliness? Yes. Suicide attempts, drug addiction, sex addiction, you name it, been there, done that, and tried all the traditional therapies. Tried it all, right? Started with a therapist. And I'll say this, my therapist, she saved my life, right? I was suicidal. I had no place to turn. I had literally just attempted a suicide, and my family and my wife learned about that. I was in my late 30s when I tried. And that's when everybody in my life found out what happened to me. My parents had no idea what had happened to me because we hid it. We hid it because of shame. We hid it trying to outrun it. We hid it because of the way society treats people that have been abused. They pour that label on us, and they say once you've been abused, well, I can't leave you with my kids because you'll abuse my kids, and that's sad. And that's a thought that I never wanted to have anybody enter my mind. That would be the last thing that would ever happen from this man. I would never.
You're
No,
tainted.
yeah, but that's how people see you, right? But
Yeah.
the real statistic, Todd, it's only about 5 to 8%, which means that 90% of the people that are sexually abused do not go on to sexually abuse others. But it's the minority that gets the press coverage. So that's also what exacerbates the problem, and nobody talks about it. I didn't talk about it because I didn't want anybody to know. I was so ashamed, and I had been beaten into submission. My pedophiles used Polaroids. They would take Polaroid pictures of us being abused, okay? And then they would use those and say, hey, do you want us to show this to your mother and your father? Because if you do, you're going to get taken away from your family. Child Protective Services are going to remove you from your home. That is what I was told. And as an 8-year-old boy, I believed it. That's how evil people can be.
Were they an elder in the church?
So the way it happened, the man that lived across the street from me was an older man and an older wife. He was one of the primary pedophiles. But behind me, I lived off of an alley. Okay. So behind me in the subdivision, 5 houses down, was the church janitor. They were employees of the church back then. So somehow these men knew each other. I don't know how pedophiles meet. Like, think about that. Do you go up to Utah and go, hey, I'm kind of into kids. What do you think? How the hell did they meet? I don't know. Never figured it out. Don't want to know. But the two of them were basically the kingpins that ran a pedophile ring. And they used the church building because he was a janitor. He had the key. He knew when the building was occupied. And there were certain rooms in the building that you could not get to unless you had the key.
It's diabolical.
Yeah, diabolical. Yeah. And people died, right? My
Yeah.
childhood best friend took his life 7 years ago, put a bullet in his head behind his house, left behind a family and 3 kids. And you know what? He struggled with dissociative identity disorder. He was never diagnosed, but I guarantee you that's what he had because I talked with some people that knew him. After high school, we all separated. We couldn't talk to each other anymore. We couldn't. And that included my best friend. So I didn't find out until late that he had taken his life. And that was also one of the things that led me to stand up. When I looked at the number of boys that have committed suicide from what happened to us and my multiple attempts, no, 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 no. That near death experience when I drowned in that pool, that was the reason that gave me purpose. It gave me the reason to stand back up and shine the light on mental health and shine the light on alternative modalities to healing. Okay? Really important to me. I got strung out on prescription meds. True story, Todd. My psychiatrist and my physician had me on 7 pill boxes. 7. Not one pill box with 7. 7 by 7. I had a 49 box grid that held my medication morning, noon, night. Okay?
Good
And that's
Lord.
the system. That is the system. I wasn't abusing them, but they kept giving me prescriptions, right? And ultimately, I got addicted to painkillers. That I had some surgery and they gave me a painkiller and it was oxytocin. And I became addicted literally that day I took it. And because when I would take the oxytocin, I could sleep at night. I didn't have nightmares. So it became my best friend. Take one, fall asleep. Oh, now I need to take 2 to fall asleep. Now it's 3 to fall asleep. Okay. That's that vicious cycle. And I've been down that path, But eventually you reach a point where you look at your life and nothing is working. Nothing. Nothing was working.
So you mentioned you were successful, but that doesn't equal happy.
No, no, yeah. I worked in corporate America. I led software teams. I was very high up in the company, and I was on stage constantly. So I lived a very public life. And everybody always knew, Thayne as the motivator, the guy that can do anything, the guy that can pump up an audience, the guy that can do this. But then I would leave that, go back to the hotel room, and not joking when I say this, hide in the closet because it's safe. Like literally, I have a $400 a night hotel room, and I'm hiding in the closet with a pillow, and that's where I would spend my nights because that's what you do when you're traumatized. You go back to what you know, which is safety. So I always, when I was booking a hotel, I wasn't so interested about the bed. I wanted to know the shape of the closet because that's most of the time where I would sleep.
Back to the womb.
Yeah, back to the womb, back to safety. The closet
Yeah.
was safety for me.
I talk to people all the time with traumas, and
Yeah.
my heart breaks.
Yeah, and it's ugly and it doesn't have to happen, but that's also why I'm standing up because we're talking about it. We're talking about the fact that 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before age 18 and 1 in 4 girls. But the problem is 95% of the support and help and resources available are for women. There's nothing for men. I can't tell you how many people that I approached. And when I gave them my diagnosis, professional after professional after professional turned me away. I don't know how to help you. I could have helped you as a child, but I don't have any experience treating adults that were abused as children that have DID. Nobody would take me on. Nobody. It was ugly.
Isn't it mostly just empathy?
Um, well, you would hope they had empathy, but ultimately the reason they didn't take it is they didn't felt qualified to treat me. And I appreciate that. DID is it's weird. It is weird, right? Okay. And what's also interesting, Todd, you're talking to somebody different. Okay. The person that's talking to you right now is the person that emerged from the pool. Okay. What I mean by that is when I drowned in my pool, I went in the pool as a multiple. That is true. When I came out of the pool, I had one personality. One. I don't know how or why that happened to me, but it did. And for the first time in my life, when I came out of the pool, I realized that I actually could see my alters. Okay? Because in the DID that I had, there are co-conscious systems and non-conscious systems. What I mean by that is when I would switch into a different personality and be a different person, I had no memory of that person or being that person or the conversation that may have been had with me when I was that person, not co-conscious. So I could never see my alters. But when I came out of that near-death experience, I came out of the pool, suddenly I saw 10 different memories, completely different. So I spent about 2 years putting my life back together. I did end up in a rehab facility, putting my brain back together and also my body because it affected me physically. I struggled to speech. My speech was slurred. I had muscle movement issues. It was difficult for me to walk. I had to learn from those things. Now, the good thing is it came fast for me. My body re-engaged relatively quickly, but that event of drowning in the pool is what set me off on this path of healing because I became obsessed with like when I got out of the pool, I wasn't able to move much. And I laid on the deck and I just stared at the sky and I couldn't really move, but I was fascinated by the stars and the moon and the planets and understanding that I somehow made it out of that pool alive. I know why I'm alive. I know why I'm alive, right? I mean, and this is what happened. I had I was given medication I should never have been given. I had an allergic reaction to that medication, which resulted in essentially a seizure. And that seizure happened while I was swimming. So I ended up drowning because I was unable to get out. But when I woke up at the bottom of the pool. Literally, I woke up in the bottom of the pool, my eyes open, and I was wet and I could see that I was under the water, but I wasn't scared. I was not scared at all. I was calm. And you have to understand, like, when you like I had a near death experience as a child. My pedophiles OD'd me, and they used an ice bath to bring me back alive. And so my first out of body experience happened as a boy. And I have very, very vivid memories of leaving my body and going to the corner of the room and watching what the pedophiles were doing, trying to revive me. But the interesting thing is, this happened when I was around 8, 9 years old. And but my grandfather was who met me, and he had passed away several years prior. But that was actually the being that I met when I left my body when they OD'd me. And my grandfather met me and said, "Look, you can't be here. You're not supposed to be here. You have many things you need to accomplish in your life, and you have to go back." And I pled with him. I'm like, "No, I want to stay here because you feel the most amazing love on the other side. It's incredible, and you don't want to leave." And he very lovingly said, "No, I have to push you back." So he did. He literally pushed me into my body. I went back into my body as a child, and that's also why I lived when they OD'd me. Okay.
Wow.
So my first experience happened as a child, and I had a memory of that experience. So when I woke up in the pool as an adult, 50 plus years later, I remembered the feeling. And that's why I was calm. I knew I had been someplace. I didn't have complete memory of what happened, but I knew I had been someplace. So I realized I was underwater. I realized I needed to get out of the water, but my body wasn't moving, would not move. So I started pleading with God like anybody else would do. And I basically said, "God, I don't know how I got here, but if you want me to continue on this earth, that I got to get out of this pool somehow." And then I had this little voice enter my brain, and it said, "Raise your head." Okay. And so I went like this. I was laying on the bottom of the pool, and I went like that. Okay. And what happened was, there was a pocket of oxygen in my throat. That pocket of oxygen moved into my lungs when I tilted my head. Why was it there? Because about 6 years prior, I had stage 4 thyroid cancer. So my thyroid was enlarged quite substantially, and I had developed large tumors around it to the point where I couldn't hardly move my neck. I thought I was just getting arthritis. It was actually cancer. So when they removed the thyroid and then, golf ball sized tumors, it left a hole in my throat where the flesh used to be. All right. So sometimes if I breathe in too quickly, the air will go in my lungs. It will also get caught in that pocket that exists where my thyroid once was. So when I lifted my head in the pool, because I had cancer, it saved my life.
It's full of paradoxes, your story.
Yes, because my entire life I saw myself as a victim. But now I can look back and go, wait a minute. Hey, God, thanks for giving me cancer. That was amazing. Because had I not had that cancer, I wouldn't have made it out of that pool. So thank you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, literally, my whole life up until that event was chaos. Doing my best, trying, working with therapists, psychologists, trying to heal me, 7 pill boxes. Okay. Ultimately, I went off those meds. I went to my doctor. I fired all of them. I said, "You guys are over medicating me. You're not listening to me." And they don't. They do not listen. And so I fired them all, and I hired a new psychiatrist, and she did a gene site report on me and learned very quickly that I should have never been given the drug I was given. Like, it is on that report. Like, do not give this man this drug. He will have a massive allergic reaction. And I did. Isn't it sad that we have tools like this available, but yet doctors don't use them?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy,
I
right?
have a love-hate relationship with Western medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Same. Right. Which is why I started leaning into alternative modalities. Okay. And here's where it really boiled down for me, Todd. I did not take a pill to develop mental illness. DID, so I was diagnosed with DID, complex PTSD, so complete catatonic states, bipolar, big highs, big lows, okay, and severe ADHD. I had all four of those, okay. I did not take a drug to become that way. That was thought and life alone. And so I said to myself, if thought and life alone created this, then thought and life alone can uncreate this. And that's what I set out how to figure out. Like, because I knew that these drugs I were taking, I was getting tardive dyskinesia. It was ruining my life. I had no feeling. I was emotionally numb, void, suicidal, all of those things, all of them. And I know people, going off my meds, people in my family, my wife was scared to death. But I'm like, you got to trust me, okay? You have to trust me. I think I can figure this out. I can't heal when I'm so medicated. I can't. So, with my doctor's help, I did go off all of that because I found a new psychiatrist. She took me off of everything. You know what's interesting?
Not cold turkey, folks.
No, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I tapered off. Okay. But
I do have one question about
yeah,
your incident in the pool.
yeah,
So when you were in the pool and you woke up at the bottom, when you were a kid, you actually left your body and stuff. Like nothing
yeah.
like that happened in the pool. Like you just woke up in the bottom of the pool.
Correct. I woke up at the bottom of the pool. Like I did not have a memory. Like the first time I had a near death experience, I did the whole out of body, like raising up, like floating, and reaching a space of consciousness where spirits exist, but not fully ascending. That's what I will tell you. Okay. So after I woke up in the bottom of the pool, and started trying to understand what happened to me. You understand that now I've got the memory of 10 people that are no longer there. All right. And I'm trying to put memories together because they came from people that I don't know.
Right.
Truth.
Yeah.
So the last 2 plus 3 years of my life have been putting those memories together from those 10 altars that lived inside of my brain. So from that also came the remembering of what happened when I left the pool.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It took me years to unpack what happened. And so today, what I tell people is I got a download, and you'll hear other people that have had NDEs talk about that, but I got a download. I have a bank of knowledge and information that was put in my head that is not mine. I did not learn it. I do not understand much of it, but it's in my head. From that came this fascination about how can I heal myself? There has to be another way. Well, it came from that fascination of the cosmos, okay? Because I understood something that was important. Everything in life comes from physical matter. Everything. The building blocks of which everything is created is an atom and then even smaller things behind the atom. We know that today. But the same molecules that are in that star are the same molecules that are in my body. So I started wondering if God can keep everything in perfect balance, okay, and that's physical matter, then that means it's being governed by physics and math because math is the language of the universe. True.
Mm-hmm.
So I became obsessed with math and understanding that the physical energy that I hold as a human, emotion, is in fact physical energy. So if God can keep everything in perfect balance with mathematical precision, what happens if I applied mathematical principles to my own life? What would that look like? And that's became my obsession. And that is what I have created. So I call it the equation of life and abundant happiness. It is a philosophy. It is a way of understanding how life can work should you choose to. All right. It's based upon the operations of math and the symbolism of the butterfly. Okay? Now, the math represents the things that you learned as a kid. So I'm going to show you that you already know this, Todd, but I'm going to apply it in a way that's going to make sense. What was the first thing that you learned in kindergarten with math? What operator?
Addition, I believe.
Exactly. Okay, you got it right. So,
Yes.
step number one is addition. What does addition mean? Addition means adding those things in life that brings forth goodness and joy. That's addition. All right. The next thing you learned after addition was
Calculus.
subtraction.
Yeah,
Not
subtraction,
calculus.
right.
That's later. Subtraction. We learned subtraction next, which is also correct in the formula. What is subtraction? Subtraction is about letting go of those things in life that don't serve us and don't help us. Okay? So, what is God, the thing upstairs? If you don't believe in anything, call it the universe. What is the expectation of the human being? It is to balance. Okay? God says, add what you need in life and let go of what you don't and maintain balance. Okay? Not like this, balance, complete balance. So think of the human like balancing on the head of a pin. That's literally what it takes to be perfect. Okay? And you can learn it and you can become this. All right? So God expects us to become balanced. What happens next? Multiplication. That's what you learn next, the multiplication tables, all right? Well, multiplication is about growth and expansion. And the way it works is we take our balanced energy, we apply action and intention, and now it grows when we engage that higher power, okay? So when I let that higher power know what I'm doing and my action and intention, does the universe help me grow it? Absolutely. Every time. So let's say I balanced and I had $100 and then I applied multiplication and that higher power and that took that $100 and it made it up to $1,000. Now I've got $1,000 of abundant goodness. What's the next operator after multiplication?
You gotta share that abundance.
Division. Exactly. Yeah. It's about giving back. So God expects us to take this abundance that was created in love and goodness. Okay. Now, here's the key, Todd. It's based upon the principle of abundance. What is abundance? Abundance is a number, it is a value that comes from your heart. Okay. So, in that example, if I have $1,000, I need 600 of that 1,000 to pay my bills this week. So what happens with division is sharing it. It's about giving back based upon that number that comes from the heart. So God understands that life can be challenging, and we as humans, we have a desire to feel safe. So what God says is, hey, if you're good with 600, how much more do you need to feel safe, Thayne? All right. And my answer to that is about $150. Okay. So I want to add 150 to that 600. So I'm going to keep 750 for me. That means I have $250 of excess abundance that I don't need. So what we're supposed to do with that abundance is give it back, put it back in the system, donate it to a charity, give it to somebody who's struggling that month. You don't need it. Give it to them. That is how the world was designed to run. We did not do that because we are operated by greed. We do not understand the principle of abundance. And because of that, we live in a very divided world today. And we actually, if you look at it, we have the greatest disparity in wealth. We're going to have the world's first trillionaire, and yet we have people in Africa that don't even have running water. How is that possible?
We have people in Canada without running water.
Yeah, that's right. And now we have people all around the world that don't even have gasoline, right?
Well,
yeah. We're not going to go there, but nonetheless, okay. So that is what you end up being. So you add, subtract, multiply, divide. Here's the critical thing. Most important sign of all, the equal sign. Okay? And the equal sign is gratitude. Okay? Because gratitude is the balancing agent of everything in existence. It's literally the second most important word in existence. The most important word is love, right? It's love. And it is the most powerful thing. And love is exactly what runs heaven. Everything in heaven runs on love. Everything. That's why you don't want to leave, because it is amazing. It's incredible. So, but the problem with love in the world that we live in, you can't create love with anybody, can you? If I saw you, Todd, walking down the street and we shook hands and we chatted for a little bit, I might be able to give you a bro pat, Okay. You might be comfortable with that. But if I approached you with gratitude and I used gratitude to build respect, I open the door for love to exist because that's what gratitude does. Gratitude creates respect. Think about it. Okay. It opens the door to conversation with any human being in the world. We all like to be seen, but we're not. We are not seen. We don't call people out when they do amazing things in our lives. So,
Why is that?
um, well, COVID had a lot to do with it. COVID, COVID silenced us, and social media has silenced us. Technology has silenced us.
Hey, I gotta tell you, having a podcast isn't all that easy. Especially in this day and age when trends and things are changing so quickly. I can't keep up with it, and honestly, I don't like doing it. I like the creating part. That's why I reached out to Carrie Hyman. She's the genius behind Your Voice Consulting. With more than 25 years of experience in communications and engagement, Carrie helps organizations connect with purpose and clarity. Known for her practical approach and steady leadership, she's built lasting relationships across industries and communities, guiding teams to communicate with confidence, empathy, and impact. And I can tell you, she is a long-term good friend of mine, and all of that is 100% true. So if you have an organization or a corporation of any kind, and you're spinning your tires, or you're needing some extra help, some advice, I'm telling you right now, go to yourvoiceconsulting.com and contact Carrie.
Introducing the timely children's book, Sometimes Daddy Cries. The visually stunning book is told through the eyes of a boy whose father suffers from depression. He sees his dad get sad, rest, and even go to the hospital, all while comparing his father's depression to a physical ailment. Sometimes Daddy Cries is getting rave reviews from parents and mental health professionals alike. One critic has stated, "This is a timely and important book that will help countless fathers and sons broach the subject of depression." An Amazon customer commented, "An excellent book to open up a conversation with a young child about depression in a parent. No big words, just a book about feelings." Sometimes Daddy Cries author Todd Rennebaum has personal experiences with anxiety, depression, and addiction. Sometimes Daddy Cries is available in hardcover and paperback on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com.
We don't talk as humans anymore. I remember going to the grocery store and talking to the people in line in the grocery store. And we were typically talking about the titles on the National Enquirer. And we were just, but we were having conversation. What do we do now when we get in line? We get on our phone. And we go down that rabbit hole and we quit talking to people. So as a society, we are closed off. It's the worst it's ever been. Now, pile on the fact that depression's through the roof, prescription drug addiction through the roof. Our society is sick. It is sick. And mental health is the worst it's ever been in this country.
Do you
The
think
worst.
with technology, some of what the depression is there's too much information? It's almost
Yeah.
like we know
Our
too
brains were not,
much.
yes, our brains were not designed to be constantly stimulated like they do. It's not. We were not, go back 200 years ago. The only information you might absorb might be a newspaper if somebody happened to drop one by on their way to the market on their wagon. So, what did you do for your time? You spent it in quality things. You learned skills. You had things. We don't do anything. We don't even develop our talents anymore. Well, no, why do we need to develop a talent? I've got this phone to entertain me. Like, this is literally the worst device ever created. I hate this thing, but yet I have to have it today. You know what I mean? But I will
Well, I think
tell
there's a
you,
balance there too, because there's a lot of great things about it.
yeah, yeah. So you're 100% right. It's about balance. That is the key. You just said it, Todd. Everything in life is about balance. And that's what God showed me. Balance, Thayne. And where do you balance? In the present moment. Most people aren't present. They wander around using it's your default mode network. It's that part of your brain that you slip into when you start thinking about your past and that argument that you just got in with your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or whatever it is. And you're bringing that instead of focusing on what you should be focusing on. Maybe you're at work, you're thinking about that argument. Well, that's a bad habit, and you created it with this. We are so distracted. Most people spend 70% of their time today in their default mode network. Truth. They're thinking about their past or anxiety about the future that they can't control.
I was just going
Is
to say
that you?
that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that rumination is a bad habit, and it's a bad habit. What I'm trying to teach you and anybody listening is that you can heal this through behavior modification. That's what I do. Behavior modification. I've learned how to literally change the neural network in my brain. That is what I studied, and that is what I have learned how to do, and that is why I teach. My company is called It's Pure Love. Okay. The word it represents the thing upstairs, and it's the perfect name because the equation of life and abundant happiness doesn't care what religion you're from. It doesn't. We don't care. I don't care what you define as your source of love. If you call it God, great. If you call it Allah, great. If you call it Buddha, great. I don't care. We all have a source of love, and it's your job to determine what that is. I will not tell you who God is, what God is, and how that works. That's your job to figure it out. So it doesn't matter. What matters, though, is when you apply the equation, it works perfectly. You can never make a bad decision when you apply the mathematical principles as I explain them to you to your life. You can't. So from that, I had an experience with gratitude that completely changed my life. Okay. I was trying to learn gratitude. I wrote a list. Like, I started this social media experiment. I said, what's going to happen to me if I get up every morning and watch this incredible sunrise? Because I had posted a picture of a sunrise on social media, and everybody was talking about the positiveness of the post, but the word was gratitude. Everybody was talking about gratitude. So I said, well, what happens if Thayne gets up every morning and watches the sunrise and learns gratitude? Okay. Because for me, gratitude was a word that my mother and my grandmother would use as a weapon. You need to be more grateful. Right? How many times did we hear that growing up? Oh, you need to be, I want more ice cream. You need to be more grateful for the ice cream you have now, right? We're just kids. So gratitude kind of got a bad rap. Truth, especially with me. So when everybody started responding saying, Thayne, check out gratitude, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I do because I kind of have a bad relationship with it. So I tried writing a list. I would take out a sheet and I'd fill it up. And that lasted about a day. Okay. Then I said, well, I do like technology, so I will download an app and I will learn gratitude that way. That lasted 2 days, and then I deleted the app because it was irritating. It was constantly pinging me, making me feel ungrateful. So it was the worst thing to do. So then I'm like, well, how the heck am I going to learn gratitude? And then one day, the thing upstairs that everybody defines sent me an individual. That one individual completely changed my life. One individual. Because they taught me something. They taught me a way of experiencing gratitude. Experiencing. Okay. So I found myself in a situation. You know a little bit about my backstory, right? So at the time, I needed to get to the west side of town. It was an hour and 15-minute drive. I had my coffee in the morning. By the time I reached that side of town, I needed to find a bathroom. Well, the west side of town is a little rougher than the east side of town. So the bathrooms are generally locked. They're generally not taken care of. So finding a facility became a problem. I had gone to 2 gas stations looking for a place to relieve myself. I was desperate. Okay. I was to the point where as a little kid, I'd probably start holding myself. It was that bad. So I saw a Carl's Jr. near a mall and I knew they served food, so they had to be open. Swing in, grab the side door. It's locked. I'm like, are you kidding me? How is this possible? And then I see a sign that says the side doors remain locked until 11 a.m. And there's a girl in the front and she sees me. She points to the front door. Oh, okay, cool. So I go to the front door. As I'm walking in, I see her. There's nobody in the restaurant. Nobody, just her and people in the kitchen. And as I'm walking in, she gives me 4 numbers, 4263. I did not know what that was. I didn't know why she was telling me that. But I realized that was the code to the bathroom. So I got back there, and lo and behold, 4263, boom. All right. Now we all know how you feel after you got to go really bad and you're finally able to take care of that. That is a dopamine hit. Okay, for sure. That is a dopamine hit. So I came out of the bathroom feeling the dopamine going, oh, thank God I didn't, you know what I mean? So I walk up to the counter and this is when I said, okay, her name was Carla, right? And I walked up to her and I said, Carla, I know you don't know me and I don't know you, but my name is Thayne Martin and I see that your name is Carla. And I bet, Carla, that you think standing behind that counter that all you do is sell hamburgers. But I want you to know that you're not just selling hamburgers, you're actually touching people's lives, and you touched mine today. Okay. Now she's looking at me and I've got her attention. And so I shared a little bit about my vulnerability. I said, I walked through that door and you could see that I was in a kind of a desperate situation. And you gave me the code to the bathroom out of the goodness of your heart. You didn't have to do that. You chose to do that. Okay. So I want to share a little bit about my past. I was abused as a child. And sadly, I would wet my pants as a way of being kept from being humiliated. So it's still a trigger for me. So had I wet my pants, it probably would have been an ugly rest of the day for me. But that didn't happen. Why? Because you were at the counter. So you made a choice today to come to work. And because you got out of bed and came to work and were standing at that counter when I walked through the door, I had a much better day because of you. So I know you think that you're just selling hamburgers, but you have literally touched my life in the deepest of way. And about this time, I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I start feeling something. There's something going on between us. All right. And I knew right then this is my moment. And so I grabbed my wallet and I carry $100 bill just to wrap my credit cards. And I pulled it out and I looked at her and I said, here's the thing. I don't need this $100. And something tells me that it may be more beneficial for you. So I'm going to give you this $100 on one condition. And that is that you spend it on yourself if you need it. But if you don't, my heart tells me you're the kind of person that's going to give it to the next person that can't afford to buy their meal that's standing in front of you. And if you agree to that, it's yours. And I let go of the bill. Okay, at that point, she had her finger on it, and I had my finger on the bill, and I let go. And right as I let go, I was overwhelmed with a feeling that I cannot describe. I've never felt it before. I didn't know what I was experiencing. I ended up crying. So did she. We were both standing at the counter in a fast food restaurant, two complete strangers who entangled in gratitude. Okay. That feeling was so profound for me, Todd. I was moved. And I'm like, okay, this is gratitude. You experience gratitude. So I said to myself, Todd, can I replicate this? This feeling is so amazing. So I tried to do it again and I was not successful. I did not get this. This, we call it gratitude cocktail. Okay. And it's a very, very beautiful thing. And I can teach you how to do it. It's what I teach. And what I will tell you is it is a healing feeling. I don't know, like I do know what it is now because I've studied the science behind it. And that's why we're actually getting this protocol studied clinically. It's going to be studied clinically because it works. Okay. But I realize here's the most important thing. It has to be a stranger. You can't know them. Okay. When I would do this with people that I knew, I'd feel good, but I wouldn't get this cocktail. I wanted this feeling. How do I get that back? And then I figured it out. It's a stranger. Kindness with strangers is how we heal our minds. All right. Now, not everybody can go out in the world and create kindness with strangers. You can't, but you can with gratitude. You see? Gratitude opens the door with every human being. Who's going to shut the door when you are approached with gratitude, even with somebody you don't know? That's why it's so incredibly powerful. So
It's almost more powerful with
it's
somebody you don't
more
know.
powerful. Yeah. So I figured out that this protocol has to be with strangers, has to be. And then I began replicating it. And sure as heck, I could land it. So I would go into the world literally for 3 days. I created what I call gratitude sandwiches with strangers. And every time I got the cocktail, every time I cried, every time they cried. These are strangers, okay? And they're people that I'm just randomly meeting, but I'm opening up my heart and I'm treating them in a way that they've never been treated because we all just want to be seen. We want to be seen.
And to be clear,
Yeah.
you're not talking about giving $100 to everybody.
Oh, hell no. No, I just
Yeah.
had $100 that day. No, I'm not rich. No, definitely not. What I will tell you is when I teach the protocol, we call that grease. Okay. We call it grease in the sandwich. So if you want to grease the sandwich, give the person $5. Give them something they're not expecting. It doesn't have to be $100. Okay. And you don't actually have to give money. What you actually have to give is just love and kindness. You don't have to have money to create the protocol, but I will tell you it increases your odds of getting the cocktail. True. It does. It does. Giving money away somehow makes it happen. So, you know what? When you take my course and you go out into the world, yeah, take $100 with you. You might enjoy having it. But I'm telling you, there's nothing more beautiful in the world than giving money away. Like when you're giving stuff to people, just seeing their faces and the smiles, it's the best feeling in the world when you just give stuff away, you know? And so I learned that with this protocol, there was a day and time, Todd, when my brain shifted. Okay. When I teach this to people, everybody that I've taught this to, in about 3 to 4 days of learning this protocol and doing it, they have kind of a what the heck moment. And the what the heck moment comes because suddenly something negative enters their mind. But today, the brain goes, wait a minute, I don't like that. That's negative thinking and it doesn't fit this new positive neural network that you created in kindness and love. So what do you want to do with this? Because it doesn't fit who you are today. Okay. Every person I have trained has that what the heck moment where that first thought enters. Okay. So what's actually going on is I'm putting the light from up above in your heart in the strongest, most amazing way. And when that light is in your heart, you will learn to protect it because I just gave you a flashlight. Okay. That flashlight is now in your heart, which also means it can see your shadows. Okay. Shadow work is integration, and shadow work is where we learn to become abundant happy. I have to address the ugly things in my life. And this technique does that because when you got that flashlight in your heart and you got the love of the thing upstairs helping you, I can handle this ugly thought that entered my brain because I've got the love of the thing upstairs in my heart with me as I'm addressing it. So, what happens is you're literally able to heal decades of trauma, negative thinking in record time.
How about intergenerational trauma?
1000%. I will tell you that by the time you're done, when you learn this protocol, the other thing that I put with it is I have 101 experiences that are designed for you to complete. And the experiences they're all psychologically driven to teach you in the way that your body and your brain learns. When you teach through experience, you retain 90%. When you read something, you only retain 10%. That's why learning by doing is always way better than learning by reading. So, in the course that I put together, I teach you love, I teach you kindness, I teach you gratitude through experiences. Okay? So, I'm going to send you out into the world. I have a deck of cards. There's 101 of them. And you go into the world and you pull a card and you go complete that exercise. So when you pull from the deck, I will tell you that the universe, God is involved in the inspiration because no matter what you pull, there's something in it for you. And that's why you execute the card. So what are some of the experiences? Some of them are simple and easy. There's actually 8 categories based upon the 8 behavior systems that human beings operate in. So the cards are all designed to reinforce things like courage, reinforce things like gratitude, reinforce things like being okay when people say no. I have cards in there for people that struggle with anger management. Because if you're getting hot, it's because your amygdala has control of you. That's why you're angry. But most people don't realize that you can retrain your amygdala. I retrained mine and I've retrained everybody that I've taught. You can control your amygdala, and you also have 0.25 seconds to transfer the thought from the amygdala to your prefrontal cortex where you can make a better decision. And I teach you how to do that. You're looking at it right there. That bracelet right there with the right protocol will transfer the thought from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. I train from this bracelet. Okay. It's experiences. That's what trains people. Look, we're monkeys. How do you train a dog? How do you train an animal? Repetition, right? Repetition combined with emotion. Why? Do you remember where you were September 11th, Todd?
I do.
Yeah, vivid details, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the day, the time of day, what you were watching on television. You remember all that with vivid detail. Why? We all do, because we experienced trauma at the same time. Okay? When the brain experiences high emotion, it records it with intensity. So I do the same thing with my experiences. As you're experiencing this, I combine it with the most beautiful emotion, love, gratitude, kindness. So if I'm growing new neural pathways in my brain, I want them to be positive. That's why every experience is wired to increase positive neuroplasticity in your brain. So the cards could be something simple. It could be as simple as okay, Smile Marathon. That's a card. Smile Marathon means that, Todd, you would take that and you would go out into the world and you would find a public spot where there's lots of people and you would sit on a bench and you would do nothing but smile at strangers.
Oh, I thought I
Okay?
had to run 10 kilometers and smile.
No, you just got to sit on a park bench. You got to sit on
I
a
like
park
that kind of
bench.
marathon.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, you might see somebody beautiful and you might chase after him, which is possible. Okay. But the whole purpose is just for you to smile at people and don't say anything and observe your behavior and observe the responses that you get back. You're going to learn something about human beings. You're going to learn some people smile and some people don't. And then you're going to start wondering what's going on in their brain that they can't even smile back. How sad is that? Oh my gosh, that's me. That's me
Dun,
sometimes.
dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
The reflection.
Experiential learning. Yes, every card has a pre-reflection and post-reflection prompts to think about what you learned, okay? Then you record a video of your experience and you send it to me as your coach. And then I look at your video and I'll go, oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, so you might try this. You were almost successful. Maybe try this on the next exercise. So it's video. It's back and forth. It's fun. The 101 exercises are all fun. Are they challenging? Yes. Are they emotional? Yes. Okay. I'll give you an example of a harder card. Okay. A harder card. There's one called Silent Voice. So if you pull Silent Voice, that means that you're going to spend 3 hours of your day with the inability to speak. Okay. You can't talk. You can communicate in any other way that you need to communicate, but you cannot use your voice. That is the experience. Go. And you go into the world. 3 hours. I can't talk to anybody. Well, you're at work. Okay. Well, then you need to figure out how to do your job without speaking. Figure it out. How good are you at flying off the cuff, right? I'm building confidence in you as you solve these problems. You see? Oh, I can't use my voice, but I've got a cell phone. So I could actually just text it and show it to people. Yeah. That's one way that would work. What else could you do? I could carry a notepad with me and I could write down. Yeah, you could. There's all kinds of things. When you become vulnerable, you rely on other people. Learning vulnerability is learning vulnerability. I just trained you in vulnerability by taking your voice away because now you're vulnerable. and you had to depend on others to help you get your job done. Experiential learning. What did you just learn? So by the time you complete my course, when you complete my course, okay, and the thing that's beautiful, like here's what I don't like around most courses that teach transformation or teach people how to heal. They don't give you a system to stay in it, and they don't give you an anchor. And most programs I've done and spent thousands of dollars going to, they always unwind in time because there's no anchor and there's no way to stay rooted in the goodness. So when I put my program together, I put both in there. Okay. So what I mean by that is once you learn this protocol, you can go into the world and get a gratitude cocktail any day that you want. And when you do, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. It'll heal you instantly. So I'm giving you the most powerful tool in existence to create dopamine, oxytocin, vasopressin, and acetylcholine in your blood at the same time. And when you get that, you get this. The second thing is the cards themselves. So the way that it works is you just pull a card, 2 cards a week. That's it. Pull a card, go do the experience. Because you're working with strangers and family, your experience is always going to be different. Always. The variables change. So even though I may have done Smile Marathon 3 months ago, today when I do Smile Marathon, I'm not at the mall. This time I'm actually in the doctor's office. And I'm noticing is that I'm smiling at everybody in the doctor's office. Nobody is smiling. Nobody. Wow. Why is that? What can I learn from it? You see how it works? So no matter when you play the card, it will always teach you something about yourself and humanity. And that's what keeps you in this goodness. So people that work with me, I give them the protocol and these cards go on your phone. They're digital. So the way I do it is you just open up your phone, okay? You pick the album, you start scrolling, you shut your eyes, and you touch the screen. That's it. Bam! What does that card say? That is my exercise. Let's do it for you right now. Hold on, I'm gonna open up the deck. We're gonna have some
Okay.
fun. Let's have some fun here. Okay, hold on just a second. I gotta pull it up. All right. I am in the cards. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay. All right. So this card is called Intention Walk. Okay. And the mission of Intention Walk is to go for a brief walk right now with the sole intention of noticing beauty and moments of connection around you. Spend a minimum of 15 minutes simply observing the world around you. That's it. Now, what do I expect to notice and feel is the pre-reflection question. Okay. Like, what do you think that you would see if I took 15 minutes and I went into the world just to observe? What do you think you're going to see?
That connection is all around us. Beauty's all
Mhm.
around us.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can be simple. It doesn't have to be complex.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So now you go into the world and you've got to spend 15 minutes. And 15 minutes of observation is something you haven't done in a long time. Probably never. Right. Okay. So imagine what you're going to learn in 15 minutes. You're going to see that the sky is beautiful blue. You're going to see that that tree over there, that tree that looks misshapen and ugly, was actually cut down at the root. And yet the tree grew one branch out the side. And out of that one branch came another beautiful tree. That's amazing. I've never noticed that tree. I've walked at this park 20 times, never seen the example of what that tree set for me. Because even if you cut me off at the knees, I can still stand up.
So it's like the ultimate being present.
Yeah, it is. So then the question afterwards is what surprised me or shifted during the walk? That's experiential learning. So if you did that card and that's what you pulled, that's what you would do that day. All right, now say stop again. Tell me when.
Stop.
Okay. Okay, this is a hard card. Tough card. Okay. This is called body walk. Okay. This card is for people that struggle with self image. They struggle because they don't like their body. Okay. I used to weigh 268 pounds at my heaviest. I now weigh 170. So I've lost almost 100 pounds. And the biggest part for me when I was overweight, I was hiding. I didn't want the world to see me, and food was my friend. So so I became heavy, lethargic, and I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like being in a bathing suit. I hated myself. I'd stand in the mirror, I'd see my ugliness, and I would look away. All
That's
right.
why I have a beard.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Okay. So find a public space to comfortably remove an item of clothing that you perhaps keep on to hide a part of your body that you're ashamed of. So remove a hat, intentionally loose clothing. Okay. If you're going to the beach, wear a Speedo. If you're a guy, wear a Speedo and watch and learn about what that feels like. Okay. Here's what you learn. When you do that, that's a tough card.
Yeah.
That is a very difficult card. Okay.
If you
I
said shave, I would just throw the cards away.
okay, so let me tell you, brother man, brother man.
Yep.
Yeah. So I took a course in experiential learning. Okay. It was amazing. And there was an exercise where they asked me to shave my beard, and I quit. I looked at the instructor, I gave him the finger, I said some words I shouldn't have said, and I stormed out of the class. I'm like,
That's me.
no, ain't happening. But then my coach, my breakout instructor, met me outside, and she's like, Thayne, here's the thing. I understand why you don't want to do this, but you also have to understand that we can teach you something about that beard, but you have to trust us. And if you don't shave your beard off, then unfortunately, this is the end of your journey with us. We won't be able to move forward. And I had spent $6,000 to get into that course. Yep, 6 grand. So I had 6,000 reasons to go back in, and I did. So my breakout instructor was actually a big guy, and he had a huge beard, beautiful beard, like grown it for 9 months or more, like gorgeous. Okay. And a really big dude, like football linebacker. And this is what I said to him. I said, okay, I will shave my beard if you shave yours. And he didn't have to because he wasn't in the course. He was facilitating. And without a second, he goes, done. I'm like, you're going to shave your beard. He's like, I will. And if I show up tomorrow morning and you still have yours, that's going to be a problem. Okay. So I have a video. It's in my phone of me shaving my beard because I did not realize that my beard was a mask and I was hiding behind the mask. So when I shaved it off and I stood there looking as a bald man with no facial hair, I reminded me of a little boy, the little boy that had been beaten up and abused by ugly people. You see why I had the beard? I was hiding. Okay.
Oh,
Now,
I know.
I'll share one other thing with you, and I know you can relate to this. Okay. I colored my beard for years because the people that abused me were old and they often had gray hair. So I colored my beard for decades, decades. And if you go to my website, you'll see the color of my beard was dark brown. Okay. This was my last mask as I let my beard grow in fully gray. And now I embrace it. This was the last piece of my old self that I had to let go of, right? Because my beard had become that mask. So I did shave my beard off that day, and I did learn an incredible, powerful experience about that. So in my cards, I won't ask you to shave your beard.
I'll take my shirt off, but I won't shave my beard.
Yeah, actually, well, yeah, okay. So it's funny that you say that, right? Like I worked with a guy that is a larger gentleman and struggles with body image. And so this is a card that he was not willing to move forward on. He was like, I cannot do this. And I'm like, okay, so I'm your coach and I know how important this is for your health. You've got to get to the point where you love yourself exactly as you are. That's not going to happen until you get comfortable literally being naked in public. So I booked an experience at a water park and I took him with me. And I said, okay, here's the thing. We're solving this today. Okay. We're at a water park. There's literally 1,000 people here. And I want you to notice that they're all shapes and bodies here. There's skinny people, there's heavy people, there's tall people, there's short people. Everybody is here. So see, you're not the only person that gets down on yourself because you see yourself as heavy. Like, embrace who you are, love who you are. So getting that gentleman to take off his shirt was damn near impossible. Was not going to do it. Okay. So I came prepared. All right. So I had on a pair of surf shorts and I said, okay, I'm gonna change the game up and I'm gonna show you vulnerability. So I took off my surf shorts and I had on a little teeny tiny bikini, right? Because I wanted to show him that I would be just as vulnerable. Okay, I have no problem taking my shirt up, but you want to put me in a bikini? Yeah, that's a challenge. Okay, that's not something most men can easily do. But I can tell you today, yeah, I have no problem wearing a bikini because I know who I am and I love myself exactly as I am. And you know who else loves himself? The gentleman that took his shirt off because he realized by the end of the day, he had the best day of his life at a water park without his shirt on. And I said, do you know how many water parks you've missed out on because you were afraid to go and take your shirt off? Do you feel better today? Yeah. Now, how did he get over that fear? Through an experience. Me telling him to do it, that didn't get it done. But him experiencing it, taking his shirt off, the gasp when he took his shirt off. And the first thing I said is, hey, is anybody staring at you? Look around. No, they're not staring at me at all. Yeah, and you assume that everybody would stare at you because you're the fat guy. Yeah. And what else do you see? Other fat guys. Yep. And are they happy? Yeah. So is it okay to be fat and happy and embrace yourself exactly as you are? Yes. Yes. Let's quit beating ourselves up. Let's live life the way we're supposed to live, which is abundantly happy. See, we choose our reality. We make it with our thoughts and our choices. So if your life's not working right now, it's because of your thoughts and your choices. That is because you're stuck in a brain that was designed to keep you safe. When we fill our brains with negativity and negative thought, that is what the brain uses to create your reality and your future. So if you want to change who you are, you have to change how you think. How you change how you think is through neuroplasticity. It's through learning, teaching your brain new neural pathways to use. And that's what I do with experiential neuroscience. I am pioneering this field. I know that. But the results I'm getting, off the charts. I took a gentleman that had DID, complex PTSD, paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar, seasonal affective disorder, bulimic, anorexic, and a self-mutilator. Okay? 3 things that this man was diagnosed with. Okay? He joined my program. I taught him everything that he now knows. He doesn't have any of these things today. And in fact, he's off the system. Since 22 years of age, he's been receiving a disability check because of his mental health. Today, he has his first job and he got his first girlfriend and he's in his 50s. Okay? He knew a life of drugs and medication and clinic after clinic after clinic after clinic. He's been homeless. Okay? Been there, done that. Not today. What did he learn? Experiential neuroscience. He learned the equation of life and abundant happiness, and he now lives it, and he lives abundantly. That was a man that was as disturbed mentally as I was. And here it is. I'm living proof, and so is he, that we can heal ourselves with thought and action alone. Okay?
You could start a cult.
I'm not going to start a cult, but I'll tell you this. I'm starting a movement. Okay? I'm
That sounds
starting a
better.
movement. Yeah, it's a movement. It's a movement, and the movement is about taking our lives back. It's about putting kindness and gratitude back in the world because the most important word is gratitude. Like, most important thing I learned from my near-death experience, everything is grateful, right? People don't realize when you use gratitude, it literally quiets your amygdala and lights up your prefrontal cortex. Like you can literally see it happen with an fMRI. You can see your amygdala firing and you can see it over here. The brain activity moves to the prefrontal cortex with gratitude. It's literally neuroscience because when we use gratitude, the amygdala cannot operate. It can't. The emotions tied to gratitude shut the amygdala down because the amygdala is all about fear, right? And scariness.
Is that where cortisol comes from?
Cortisol comes from stress in the body. Yeah, absolutely.
But and and the amygdala triggers that.
Absolutely. Stress. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It's
When you, and what
literal
is,
poison.
It is. Cortisol it causes inflammation in your cells. And when you get inflammation in the cells, that's what leads to disease. That's why Middle Eastern and Eastern philosophies are all about mindfulness and being stress-free, because that stress will kill you. It literally does, right? Like, that's part of it. So my life, my work has directed me to this, to creating. So my company is called It's Pure Love. When I had my near-death experience and I started writing the Equation of Life and Abundant Happiness and the course and everything, and how it was going to work, I needed a name. And I'm like, I don't know what to call this. And so I literally put it in to GoDaddy. It's Pure Love. And it was available. What the heck? For me, that word IT is one of the most common used words on the internet, as is the word love. What were the chances of me 2 years ago getting that domain? No, that was destiny. It's the perfect domain for what I do, because it can mean anything. It's pure love implies the love up above. Well, who's it? Can be anything. You define it. That's why it's the perfect name. I don't care what religion you believe. It doesn't matter. What you will learn, like when you leave my program, here's what you have. One, you have no fear. None. Okay? Fear is gone. Fear becomes a caution sign instead of a stop sign. That's the difference. So now my brain is trained. Oh, fear, caution. Body serving something up. What is my body identified that's potentially risky? Ah, shake my bracelet. Prefrontal cortex. Okay. Prefrontal cortex activated. Prefrontal cortex says, yeah, okay. Thank you, body. I appreciate you serving that up. That's gratitude. Shuts down the amygdala. Thanks for serving up the emotion of fear. But as I sit here and look at the situation, I realize that fear is coming from that experience I had when I was a little kid. And today I'm an adult, and I've actually done this twice successfully, so there's no reason to think I can't do it again. So thank you, body, for serving up fear, but your story attached to that fear is incorrect. I'm using a different path moving forward. Okay.
With a mix
That
of
is how.
DBT as well. Well,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's a mix of lots of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
everything. Like,
yeah.
I've done it all. CBT, DBT,
Yeah.
EMDR, hypnosis, past life regression. I've tried it all. I will tell you what works. This. It healed me and it healed him. Now, I can't say to people, I can't legally say I heal people. I don't. What I do is I teach you how to heal yourself. Okay? And you're going to work with your doctors. If you're on medication, you're going to work with your doctors on your medication, right? But there will come a point where you will not need the medication, right? That's what's wrong with our system today. Our system is designed to keep us sick, to treat the symptoms, to send money to Wall Street and the rich people who own these companies. Why have they never had a cure for most of the diseases? There's a great question. They don't want to cure it. They want to treat you so they can make their money, right? Do you know how many drug companies are going to come after me when they realize that we don't need to take these drugs and actually what we need is gratitude and love and we can heal ourselves? Do you not think the drug companies are come after me? You're darn right they will. But I'm ready for the fight, okay? Because those drugs that my doctors gave me ruined my life. They ruined my life.
Well, did they give you a near-death experience, which then...
Well, if you want to go that route, you're 100% accurate. They led to today.
Yeah.
They led
See?
to
That's how
today.
doctors
Yeah.
work.
Well, yeah, nice analogy. Good try. Well, but here's the thing. I had 7 pill boxes. What does that mean? That means the establishment over medicates, and it happens all the time to people. All the time. And then you go to the doctor and you say, hey, look, I understand you want me on this, but I don't feel good. I don't feel normal. And then what do they say? Oh,
Take
well,
this.
yeah, take this. And so you're on this constant roller coaster of emotion. And what are you trying to do? Find peace. You just want a little bit of stability. Well, as they're adjusting your meds, is that easy? No. Is it a life of up and downs? Yeah. Do you find something that works? Yeah. But what if you didn't have to take it in the first place? What if what you really needed to do was to address the underlying psychological shadows and damage that's in your brain that's causing the mental health to be there? That's what it is. Honestly. The problem with most therapists and any kind of therapy is our brains are designed to protect us. So that means it does not always serve up. Like I sat in the chair with my therapist and did EMDR for 3 months before I had a breakthrough moment. I would sit in that chair and cry as she would work with me. And then one day I had a breakthrough. It was just an image. It was red, white, and blue ribbon and bicycle spokes. That was July 4th, 1976, which is the first day that the neighbor assaulted me. Okay? It took 3 months of sitting in that chair working with that therapist. So, is there value in therapy? Yes, 100%. And I'm not going to say don't work with therapists and psychologists. You're going to want to work with therapists and psychologists. But if you really, really, really want to move the needle, learn through experiences, because the experiences will heal your mind naturally. You'll teach yourself that I can do anything. Okay. Ultimately, I teach balance. I teach you how to balance in the present moment. I start with awareness, because if you can't maintain your focus, you can't become emotionally intelligent. So I start with awareness and this bracelet. I'll teach you awareness with this bracelet in about 24 hours. Okay. Once you get good at staying in the present, then I move you into something called balanced thought. And the reason that's important, Todd, is because your thoughts is what goes into your subconscious mind. So if you have a negative thought and that thought was, hey, I'm not good enough, and you don't do anything with that thought, it goes back into your subconscious mind as I'm not good enough, and we'll play that tape again. And it does. All right. But what if you said, wait a minute, I understand that I feel like I'm not good enough. And I understand that there's some risk if I try this. But if I'm successful, I'm going to benefit from this, and this. Yeah. Okay, so what did I do? I neutralized the negative thought. You see, if you don't bring a negative thought to neutral, it goes away into your brain, subconsciously negative, and your subconscious mind will play with it and serve it back to you. That's why you have to learn what I call balanced thought. And initially, it's hard because you're not used to balancing positive when your brain is naturally wired negative. It's going to feel awkward. But in about a week's time, that practice of balancing thought will eliminate the negative thought.
Boom. New narrow
Boom.
pathway.
Yeah, exactly. It's all experiential. You see how it works? You're going to
Thayne?
teach my course, Todd. So one thing I want people to understand is when I died in that pool and I got an opportunity to live again and to learn how to live a balanced life, I made a deal with my creator that I would come back and I would do this work. Okay. I'm from corporate America. I'm used to making a lot of money. I chose not to go back to corporate America. I chose a life of poverty. I haven't made any income in almost 3 years. I've been living off my savings account as I've been creating this, creating the course, creating the content, all of this stuff. Okay. Because I know what it is and I know what it's done for me and the lives of other people. So when I work with people, I work on a donation basis. And what I mean by that is I don't want somebody to not be healed. Okay. I don't want that. And I know that money can sometimes come in the way of that. So the way that I do it is I work on the principle of abundance. There's opening and closing, right? Now, for me to teach somebody, there's 9 hours of my personal time teaching you, taking your life apart and teaching you one-on-one how to do this. 9 hours of my time. Then you've got 5 days of working with me during that session. And then I have basically 90 days of follow-up as you begin balancing. So I'm going to spend a lot of time and energy helping you through this process. So I can't do it for free. I have to at least keep the bills on, right? So what I look for is skin in the game, all right? So I have a suggested price for my course, but ultimately I want you to have skin in the game and it has to mean something, okay? Because this is shadow work, this is challenging work, and it's the money in the game that keeps you committed when it gets hard. Okay. Because I've had it. I've taught people for free. They don't finish the course because I play a card on them, like take your shirt off in a beach. And they're like, no, I'm not doing that. And then what do? Quit. And then did they benefit? No. Did I benefit? No. We all lost. So that's why there's skin in the game. Balance. Exactly. So I put skin in the game. Okay. There's an opening number. And then 90 days later, there's a closing number. So if let's say you said, you know what, Thayne, I'm good at $2,500. Okay, $2,500 is commitment, and I'm willing to take that $2,500. When we get to the end of that, I will give you an opportunity. If I've done my job, then and you're good, then you can also pay me more, because this is a donation. This is me continuing to provide and help people that can't afford to. So if you're good and you're fat and life is good for you, then pay me a little extra. But if I didn't do my job and I didn't help you heal, then I owe you some money. And we're going to negotiate that. I'm going to give you money back. How many else out there does this kind of work and makes that kind of commitment? Nobody. I do, because it matters to me. And the members in your audience matter to me. Nobody should live a life of anything less than abundant happiness, and everybody can learn from it. And that's why I teach this, and that's why I make it as affordable as I possibly can. And I work with people, because I don't do this for money. I don't.
Thank you so much for my guests today, Thayne Martin. To find out more about Thayne, you can go to his Instagram at Thayne Martin, or you can go to his website. It's purelove.com, where you can find out more about his public speaking and his program. Please rate and review Bunny Hugs and Mental Health on Apple Podcasts or whatever app you are listening on. Please follow me on Instagram at Bunny Hugs Podcast and on Facebook, Bunny Hugs and Mental Health. If you enjoy the podcast and my guests, please go to buymeacoffee.com, and under Bunny Hugs Podcast, you can leave a one-time or a monthly tip. Any amount is extremely appreciated. You can find all my links in the show notes or at www.bunnyhugspodcast.com. Until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.